Okay, guys, so multiplication and division are inverse operations. And what that means is that they are opposite of each other. The word inverse means opposite. So you learned last year that they are in the same fact family. So, for example, if you have, I don't know, 6 times 7 equals 42, you can do that backwards, remember, 7 times 6 equals 42. Well, you can also write a division fact that goes with this. 42 divided by 7 would give you 6. I have all 3 of those numbers, and I can even do 42 divided by 6, and I will get 7. This is a fact family. All right? So we're going to be looking at some division today that's a little bit harder. You're going to have pictures. They're going to be an array, different types of arrays that you might see, and you're going to be writing the multiplication and division facts that go with it. So the fact family that goes with the picture. So I've picked out some for me to show you and kind of model for you, and then you have some in your lesson to do by yourself. All right, so let's go to the next page. So I want to know, how can this be represented as multiplication and how can it be represented as division? So the first thing we have to know in this problem, there's a couple of things. We need to talk about the groups in this picture. Okay, the groups, the number of groups, that's important. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we need to know the number of stars in one group. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, and then we need to know the total number of stars. Now, I definitely do not want to count all of these stars, okay? So I'm going to use multiplication, and if there's 12 in one group and I have 8, I can just multiply 12 times 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 1 is 8, plus the 1 up here gives me 9. So the total number of stars is 96. So now I can represent it as multiplication and as division. An array can be used for both. So first let's write our multiplication. So we have 8 times 12 equals 96, or the inverse of that, or not really the inverse because we're not doing division yet, but these flipped around backwards would be 12 times 8 equals 96. Now I'm ready to do my division. When you're writing division, you start with your total, 96, and you split it up. So one way you can split it up is by the number of groups. So you could divide it by 8, because there's 8 groups, and tell how many are in one group. Or you can split it up by saying, okay, well, I'm going to put 12 in each group. How many groups do I get? I get 8 of them. All right, so these are your multiplication and division fact families for this problem. This is one type of an array you may see. All right, so here, this one, very similar to that kind of array. First, let's figure out the number of groups. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. And I like listing this before I even get started. The number in each group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 stars in one group. All right, now I need the total. Let's do it over here. 12 times 4 is 48. So 48 total. Now I can write my multiplication and my division fact family. Now, Don't forget, an array can represent multiplication and division. I know you'll have been trained to, when you hear the word array, you automatically think multiplication, but it can be division also. All right, so let's write our multiplication facts. 4 times 12 equals 48. Flip it around. 12 times 4 equals 48. And then 48 divided by 4 equals 12. 48 divided by 12 equals 4. Ooh, this array looks a little bit different. This one is using base 10 blocks instead of stars, but it's still the same. Okay, off the bat, I see that I have 4 groups. Okay, now I need to count my base 10 blocks. This is a rod, so I know that's 10, and then 11, 12. Oh, I have 12 blocks. I'll call them blocks. So that's the same problem that we did. Let's see if I can go backwards. On this page, we had 4 and 12. So this is the exact same problem. That means I have 48 total. These are easier to count though. I could say 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. These are easier to count, so base 10 blocks are easier than the actual stars. All right, so 4 groups with 12 in each gives me 48 total. Or I could say 12 blocks put into 12 blocks done 4 times into 4 separate groups gives me 48. Or I could say 48 blocks divided into 4 groups gives me 12. Or 48 blocks divided into groups of 12 equals 4 groups. All right, let's see what other kind of array I found. Oh, wow, do y'all remember these with multiplication? All right, so this is another type of array you could possibly see. Now, what I want you to do, you can use these little blocks on top if you want, or ignore them. This right here is your actual array. This is all kind of extra up here to try to confuse you. So let's focus on this picture right here. All right. Now, this will help you figure out your numbers you're multiplying or the number of groups you have, but we didn't do that when we did that, okay? We just used the picture. So what I'm going to say is I know that this is 10 plus 2 more equals 12, and then I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 going this way. So those are my 2 factors. 8 times 12. 8 times 12. Now, I can count my base 10 blocks to figure out my answer and say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96. Don't forget, you can turn that around. I wrote the division sign. I didn't mean to. And get the same exact answer. Now, if I wanted to use this as division, if I wanted to pretend like I wasn't even figuring these all out yet, okay, I just wanted to divide, I could count my total first, that 96, and say, okay, if I have 96 and I want to split it into 8 groups, which is what these are, the 8 groups, 1 group, 2 groups, 3, like this, and go all the way down, then I would end up with 10, 11, 12 in each of my groups. Or, let's switch my color over here, getting kind of confusing, all these colors going on. If I counted my 96, and I said, okay, well, I want to split it into 12 groups, then I would end up with, if I split it like this, where I went and kept splitting this 10 up in even more, I would end up with 1, 2, 3, I can count these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I split it into 12 groups, I would end up with 8. Oof, okay, so this one is even harder. Okay, this one's even harder. This is an array, and I can still figure out my answer, but I'm going to have to do some work on this grid to figure it out. So, first, I'm going to find out my length and my width. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm even going to split it right here and write 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 more. I like working with groups of 10. It makes it easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 9. So I know the number going across is 39. 10, 20, 39. Now I'm going to count down and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 39 times 7, that's my equation. All right, so 39 times 7 or 7 times 39. Either of those work. Now I need to know my total. Well, I could just multiply, that's fine, but I know that each one of these little arrays in between, these are all 70, because 10 times 7 is 70. 70 and 70. 9 times 7 is 63. And then I can just add those up. That's 210. And then 210 plus my 63 is 273. Whew, thank goodness I'm good at multiplication, and so are you, or we would be counting forever to count 273 blocks. Now, I can do my inverse operation and say 273 divided by 7. So that's like saying I wanted to divide it into groups this way. 7 groups. Here's another group. Here's another group here, and another group if I went all the way down the line. And if I did that, I would end up with 39 in one of my groups. This whole row right here would become a group together. Okay? And if I did that, I would end up with 39 in each of my groups. Or I could do it the opposite way and say, okay, I want to split it up into 39 groups. And if I split it up into 39 groups, this would be a group, 1, 2, 3. All of those would be groups all the way across, and I would end up with 7 in each of them. And that's okay too. All right, here's another one with tally marks. The same idea. Same idea. You would count your groups. You have 3 groups times how many's in each? 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18 in each. Now, these are easier to count. They're in groups of 5. You could go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54. So there's 54 in each. Or I could say 18 3 times still equals 54. 54 divided into 3 groups gives you 18 in each group. Or 54 divided into groups of 18 equals 3 groups. So fact families with multiplication and division are awesome. So hope that helps. I want to see your work on the next view. I gave you some arrays to practice. So I want to see your fact families for multiplication and division on your arrays.